Hey guys, and welcome to this review of Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle. Just to let you guys know, this review will contain spoilers throughout the entire video, so if you do not wish to be spoiled in what the plot is, where the nods are to the original film, etc., please feel free to turn the video off now. For those of you who stuck around, thank you so much. Here we go. As I stated in my previous video, the movie Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle picks up 1 year after the first film leaves off, which means that it picks up in 1996 as the first film left off in 1995. There is a new look for the game case. When the game is found on the beach, which is reference to the end of the original movie, where the game was seen kind of on a beach. I believe it was in France. I could be wrong though. When the character picks up the game and you see it for the first time on screen, it doesn't look ancient and worn out and old like the game did in the original movie. It actually looks brand new. It looks like it has a brand new coat of paint on it. So I was kind of disappointed about that, to be honest, but that's just my personal opinion on that. Now, back in 1996, when the movie picks up, the character who finds the game and brings it back to his home remarks something to the effect of "nobody plays board games anymore," and closes the game and puts it away. While the character is sleeping, the game begins to glow, and when he opens it up after he wakes up in the next morning, he realizes that the game has turned into a game cartridge for a video game console. Now, I thought this was a bit of a clever twist because the advertisements that I had seen showed that it was going to be a video game rather than a board game, so I was wondering how they were going to incorporate that into the movie. So that was kind of cool how they did that. What you don't see in the beginning of the film is the character playing the game. He looks at it, but you don't see him actually turn it on and play it. Fast forward to 2016, I believe is when the movie picks up. This, by the way, is reference to when Robin Williams' character of Alan Parrish, as well as the character of Sarah Whittle, play the board game for the first time in the original film, and Alan gets sucked into the game and has to wait in the jungle until somebody rolls a 5 or an 8 when the game picks up in 1995 from 1969. So the new movie goes from 1996 to 2016. I believe it's 2016. It could be 2017. I could be wrong. I'm not positive on that as far as my recollection of the film. So when 4 teenagers who are in high school get detention and find this old game console with the Jumanji game cartridge, they plug it into an old TV and they take the gaming controllers and each choose a character, and then they get sucked into the game, at which point they are in Jumanji in the jungle. The whole rest of the movie from there until the very end when they leave Jumanji takes place in the jungle. This is reference to when Robin Williams' character gets stuck in the jungle for 26 years. This is the jungle he was stuck in. And in a few minutes, I will get to what the nods are to Robin Williams in the film and where you can find them. The beginning and the very end of the new film takes place in Brantford, Massachusetts. For those of you who don't recall, the original film, the entire film took place in Brantford, Massachusetts. So I thought that was kind of a cool nod to the original film and the location of the real world, if you will. There's references throughout the film, as I stated in my previous video, to the Stampede. The first reference is shortly after the characters are sucked into Jumanji. One of the characters gets eaten by a hippopotamus that comes out of the water and eats one of the characters, at which point they lose a life. The characters within the game each get 3 lives. They have tattoos on their arms with bars, just bar tattoos. They each start off with 3 and they lose lives throughout the game. So they, if they lose their last life, they're dead in reality and dead in the game. So I thought that was kind of a cool touch that they each have 3 lives rather than having to run for their life, which they do anyways, like they did in the original movie. The hunter that comes out of the board game in the original film when Robin Williams rolls the die, and the Jumanji board game reads, "A hunter from the darkest wild makes you feel just like a child." And then Robin Williams' character whispers, "Van Pelt." And Van Pelt is the name of the hunter. Now, Van Pelt is in the new movie. They refer to him throughout the film. He is hunting the characters in the video game, and he is not just a hunter and hunting them, but he is also an archaeologist that has stolen something that he shouldn't have. And you'll see what that is. It's kind of hard to describe. You'll see what that is when you see the film. So that's throughout the film. They're referred to Van Pelt. Professor Van Pelt is what he's called. And he is what they call an NPC, which is a non-player character. So it's just somebody that's been put into the game with certain key phrases, and they don't actually fully interact with the other characters and the other players. One of the other characters that came to gather up the 4 players of the video game that got sucked in comes in a Jeep to pick them up, and after he drops them off where they need to start their journey, he states, "If you wish to leave the game, you must save Jumanji and call out its name." Now, this is reference to the original board game where the instructions read, "Adventurers beware, do not begin unless you intend to finish. The exciting consequences of the game will vanish only when a player has reached Jumanji and called out its name." Now, this set of instructions was read only once through the entire film of the 1995 version by Judy, who was played by Kirsten Dunst. And she says, "Uh-oh, I didn't see this set of instructions," or something like that. And she reads that. So this is reference to that, where the archaeologist NPC comes and says, "If you wish to leave the game, you must save Jumanji and call out its name." There is reference to the spiders in the original Jumanji movie when Peter rolls the die and the board reads, "Need a hand? Why, you just wait. We'll help you out. We each have 8, and the spiders come out of the board game. This is one of the subtler references, and it goes by pretty quick. It's when the character of Van Pelt is sitting in the bazaar, and a spider crawls up his arm and into his coat. And that, to me anyways, is reference to the spiders in the original film. But like I said, that goes by pretty quick. It lasts maybe 3 to 5 seconds at best. There's also reference to the bats, which are the very first thing to come out of the game. That also is in the bazaar scene. And the shot itself is kind of an angled overhead shot that starts zooming in. You sort of see the bats out of focus at the top front of the screen, and they're gone almost in a blink of an eye, so you really have to look for those. But that's where that is. The bats are just hanging upside down right outside of the bazaar. Now, as I stated previous, there are 2 references to Robin Williams himself and his character of Alan Parrish in the new film. The first one comes when the characters are in the bazaar and they're looking for what they think is the missing piece to the map of Jumanji. And in order to get this missing piece, they have to basically battle a snake. And once they take care of the snake, they reach into the basket and pull out this little package, and they unwrap it, and it is an elephant token from the Jumanji game, which, if you recall, Alan Parrish, Robin Williams' character, had the elephant token in the original game. So that's the first nod to Robin Williams, is the elephant token that he had in the original game. If you guys remember the monsoon scene in the original movie, every month of the quarter moon there'll be a monsoon in your lagoon, which took place in the dining room. There were 2 or 3 crocodiles, really big crocodiles, in that scene. So at one point when the characters that get sucked into the game meet up with who you later find out to be the character from the very beginning of the film who originally found the Jumanji board game in 1996, who has been stuck in Jumanji for 20 years. When he is guiding the 4 other characters, the 4 other players, to his jungle hideout, he has to cross over a gap in the cave that they're in, and in order to do that he has to put a plank down and walk across, and they have to walk across this, what is basically a pit of alligators. And so that was kind of cool to see the reference to the alligators, where they had to walk across the pit to get to the other side of the break in the path in order to get to the hideout treehouse. The second, and what I consider the bigger reference to Robin Williams, as I stated before, his character's name was Alan Parrish. The treehouse where the fifth character has been hiding out for 20 years has a tree branch going through it, and on one side of the tree branch it's whittled down, and in the tree branch is carved, "Alan Parrish was here." That was what I consider the biggest reference to Robin Williams, and the biggest nod and tribute to Robin Williams was his character's name of Alan Parrish, because as I said in the beginning, this whole thing takes place in the jungle where Alan Parrish was for 26 years before he emerged as Robin Williams in 1995 in the original film. The second reference that I'm going to mention here, as far as the Stampede is concerned, is at one point they are flying in a helicopter and there's rhinoceros chasing the helicopter, and that to me is another reference to the Stampede, because in the original movie the Stampede consisted of elephants, rhinoceros, hippopotamus, zebra, and pelicans. Now, throughout the whole film, I did not see any zebra or pelicans. There is a pelican, and I'll get to that reference in a few minutes, but I did not see any zebra at all throughout the film, nor did I see any pelicans. They were in the end credits. So if you say and watch the end credits, there's an outline of a pelican that shows up in the credits, which I feel is the reference to the pelican from the Stampede in the original film. When Judy rolls the die after Robin Williams' character gets stuck in the floor because the floor turned to quicksand, and the board read, "There is a lesson you will learn. Sometimes you must go back a turn." The game in the original film went back a turn. In the new film, at one point, they drop what they're trying to return to its proper place, because as I said, Van Pelt stole something that he shouldn't have. So they're trying to return this thing to the proper place, and they drop it out of the helicopter. And so they have to turn the helicopter around and go back to get it. In my mind, that's a reference to going back a turn in the original film, because while they're still mid-level, they have to turn around and get this object that they're carrying that they need to return to its proper place. Last thing I have on my notes as far as references is a reference to the Vine scene. Karen Gillan's character, Ruby Roundhouse, gets snagged and dragged behind a motorcycle, and one of the other characters has to take a sharp weapon and cut the rope. And that's reference to when Peter got snagged by the vines in the first movie, and Alan Parrish, Robin Williams' character, had to chop the vine in order to free Peter from being eaten by the poisonous plant. So that's all the references and where they are as far as the ones that I caught. When you guys watch the movie, let me know if I missed any references. I'll go back and see what I may have missed. The movie itself, as I may have stated in the beginning, is well worth seeing. I absolutely loved it. I enjoyed every minute of it, the references especially. And you really should definitely go see it when it comes out in theater on December 20th, 2017. It's well worth the money. It's well worth the time. Coming up, the other projects that I'm working on are reviews to Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. That also will have spoilers, as well as a review of The Greatest Showman, and I will also be reviewing Pitch Perfect 3. So keep an eye out for those guys, and I will definitely be seeing more movies coming up and reviewing them, as well as potentially reviewing different products and TV shows that I might be recommended and such. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and click that bell icon up in the corner to be notified every single time that I post a new video. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care.